Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we're going to look at this K3 tactical flashlight from the company Cyansky. Now Cyansky is a company I had never heard of, but I bumped into their flashlights and actually they looked pretty impressive. So the people at Cyansky did send out a couple of different products to take a look at. They actually sent me a headlamp, which I'll cover at a future date, but they sent me this K3 tactical flashlight to get some initial impressions of their brand. Now this flashlight has 1600 lumen output with a 21700 lithium ion battery. Now, at an initial thought, you go, 1600 lumens, what's the big deal? Well, sometimes it's about lumens, sometimes it's about candela. This is going to be a little bit of a mix. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at this in detail, get an overall impression of Cyansky to see if they're a brand that I will consider in the future and if they might be a great option for you. But with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Cyansky who did provide this for review. Now when it comes to tactical flashlights, the reality of the situation is, well, I have yet to come to a situation where I don't get a brand new one in my hands, I would say any less than maybe twice a month. So tactical flashlights are something that at this point I have just used a ton and carry them all the time and every day. So when Cyansky reached out, I really had to think whether or not I wanted to test another flashlight brand. I mean, I have tons of light videos I still need to produce, but when I saw their construction and the overall functions, I was like, it's definitely worth taking a look. So this Cyansky K3 to me kind of fits in a nice little niche where it's a little bit beefier, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I do like flashlights with a nice large reflector and a good size head capable of some solid throw and punch. The thing about flashlights, and a lot of people get hung up on lumens, but to me it's about the beam quality, the beam pattern, and the punch. Lumens only gets you so far, so when I saw 1600 lumens, I wasn't blown away at that number, but at the same time, I wasn't going to let that be a limitation. But it was the 90,000 candela that really got me. 90,000 candela, that's getting to be pretty serious. This flashlight has 600 meter throw in a fairly tight package. Now, keep in mind, I use my flashlights a lot, not for tactical and not necessarily for EDC, but for inspectional purposes. When you need to see far off in the distance or have a lot of punch into dark areas, candela can be critical. So 90,000 candela and 600 meter throw, that's what's caught my attention. So the first thing when we start to look at this, it doesn't look too much different from most other tactical flashlights. But the interesting thing is when I saw this K3, it's got almost like a flat paint on it, which I like. It's a little bit different from what other companies are doing. So if I show you this Nightcore P20IX, which I've been carrying for a little while now, it's a little more glossy compared next to this Cyansky K3, a little more flat in terms of the color. It gives it a slightly gray type of look, and I like it. It's just different. They're differentiating themselves from the crowd, and I definitely like that. Now, the other thing is this flat button. I am definitely curious about that. It will be really important for me to see how that is functionally and tactilely while I'm trying to use this in the dark. I mean, all of this is rounded until you get to that button, and then it sits on top of a little flat spot. But at the same time, I can tell you, sometimes these are difficult to feel. The nice thing is you're not accidentally going to actuate this in your pocket. So not only does it have the side switch, but you have the tail switch, which is awesome. So dual switches, which definitely lends well to this style of a flashlight. You can see that it is recessed below the tail cap, which allows me to tail stand this easily, no problem. The other thing that I like, it's a really aggressive look, but a subtle aggressive look at the same time. You end up with these glass breakers. So as you see here, these little nubs, 1, 2, 3. So glass breaker right on the front. So instead of it being like a sharper sort of bezel, you end up with that little bit of a glass breaker. Definitely cool. Now look how clear that lens is. Very, very clear. It looks to be nice and high quality. And then inside, you'll see just that massive reflector on this head, just ready to really throw some serious light. So again, it's only 1600 lumens, but it's 90,000 candela, and the head really weighing into the capabilities over 600 meters. Pretty straightforward in terms of the rest of the construction. I mean, nothing really that catches my eye by surprise. Pretty straightforward, just nice little amount of ribbing here. Just the milling and machining, nicely done. Little bit of a pattern, pretty cool in the tail there. And in terms of the threads, well, let's check this out as I unthread the tail cap. It's not the smoothest, but not too bad. Here you can see it does still leverage a spring. You need to be a little bit careful. Just pay attention to that. It can possibly loosen up a bit over time if you're constantly taking the battery out. I don't know if that's going to be a problem, but you're definitely going to be taking this flashlight apart quite a bit because, well, you actually recharge this battery, which again, this is a 21700 lithium ion battery, 3.6 volts. Now 5000 milliamp hours, which is solid. They call this the BL2150U model, but USB rechargeable, so it's a USB Type-C connector right on the battery. So I actually do leverage my connector directly on the side of the battery for charging, and as I plug it in, you can see it has a little light on top. Now this is red while it's charging. It will turn to green when it is fully charged and ready to go. Now, something else worth mentioning, the head does thread off as well. Sometimes the threads are the same. Let's see if you can thread this together this way, which it looks like you can. And if this goes on, that's actually pretty cool. So yes, this is just a little bonus that sometimes you may want to rock your clip the opposite direction, and you have the ability to do that. Now, not that I expect to necessarily be putting this like on the brim of a ball cap, but you'd be surprised. This does come into play, and it will also make a difference if you actually like to carry your flashlight with the bezel up. So this is sort of a, lens up or bezel up carry option, which is definitely cool. The threads are O-ring gasketed, so that is something else to pay attention to. And they say this is IPX8 water resistant rated. So now, clicking on the light, well, there you go. So that button there, as you see, it is momentary press, as you see there, or clicking the light on. Nice solid snap. Now, this does not do any sort of mode adjustment, so it's literally just light on, light off, or that momentary. There is one thing I'm seeing right away that kind of has me a little bit bummed out, and that's the dark spot right in the middle of this lens, like a big black spot. That is the LED. So the lens, unfortunately, doesn't have even coverage across the middle of the beam. I think that's a little bit of a letdown. You can see a definite defined hot spot and then some spill. So in this mode, you can see that black spot in the middle. You end up with that hot spot and then nice spill off to the sides. This pattern's only gonna get extrapolated the further out it goes. Now, just for this example, here I have the Cyansky K3. Here I have the Brynite Oathkeeper PT18 Pro. As you look closely, both fairly similar in terms of the size of the head. Both of these with a, I would say, like non-orange peel, so a smooth reflector. Similar size diameter, and then a single LED. So again, you saw the Cyansky with a black spot right in the middle, but well, what about this Brynite Oathkeeper? As I turn the light on, I'm going to bump it down, so just putting it in the lowest mode, and you can see an even beam. There is actually, when I look closer, a little bit of a dark spot right in the middle, but it is nowhere as defined nor distracting as it is on the K3. So a little bit there, but not too bad. And just showing this again, how defined, it looks like I have a hole in my hand. So that to me is a little bit of a, I don't know. We'll see how it is in terms of performance outside, but that catches my attention right away. Now getting on the side switch and bumping through the modes, this right now is in the low mode. So the low mode being 30 lumens, a press medium, that's 200, another press high, that's 800, and then turbo, 1600 lumens. Now I can feel some serious heat coming off of this. So 1600 lumens doesn't generally translate to a ton of heat, but fact of the matter is, with this incredibly concentrated beam, you can definitely feel the heat coming off of this flashlight. I mean, this thing is just pounding with that real concentrated, smooth reflector, and again, that 90,000 candela. So that's what I'm saying. It's not about the 1600 lumens, but this flashlight has punch. Now, the other thing worth mentioning, this has some awesome run times. So again, at 30 lumens in the low mode, you're going to get 100 hours of run time here. Bumping it up, the medium, again, 200 lumens. This is 12 hours of runtime. Bumping it up, this is 800 lumens in the high mode, 3 full hours of runtime at 800 lumens, and then that 1600 lumens, you're going to get 2 full hours of runtime. Now, this will step down at some point as it kind of heats up and as your battery starts to drain. So you will see that the turbo mode does drop down, same with the high, and same with the medium mode. Those will drop down over a certain amount of time, but you are getting substantial run times. Now, the last thing worth mentioning, a long press of that side switch, and there's your tactical strobe. So you do have tactical strobe. That's a full 1600 lumen output at 90,000 candela on strobe. So if you want to blind somebody, that will definitely blind and disorient. So quality strobe on this. The other thing that's nice is I like that it's not in the rest of the cycle. I hate when specialty modes are built into the cycle between the modes, but rather a separate press. And being a long press, that's actually fairly easy. I can see me maybe messing up from time to time and accidentally bumping it, but bottom line is, that's actually better than double press because you can cycle between your modes real quick, and then long press if you really wanted that strobe. So from a programming perspective, I think this is great. Now, just real quick, showing you the packaging so you can kind of get some brand awareness. Cyansky having a little bit of this logo here, the blue packaging, which is going to kind of show you their general colors. You can see on the side some specifications. On the back of the box, more run times and parameters. Here you can see they're calling this the super long range tactical flashlight, and that definitely seems like it'll be the case. On the inside here, you do get some stuff. So first and foremost, you end up with your product information card. You can see here a little bit of a lanyard, some spare O-rings, and then actually a replacement for the button cap in the back there to help keep everything sort of weather tight. You end up with a USB Type-C charging cable, and then here you kind of get yourself a nylon pouch. So as we take this light and slip it into here, I'm assuming this is going to go bezel up, which it does, and then sort of sealing that off. So that's actually going to be pretty good for a light like this. I actually have found that lately I've actually been using the pouches and the holsters. I never, ever, ever did. until I burnt a hole in my pants with 9,000 lumens of just extremely hot output on a flashlight. And well, that was $150 mistake. Never mind the fact that maybe I did some damage to the flashlight, but I don't know it yet. So all in all, I can say this seems to be a pretty good setup. So at this point, let's get outside and we're gonna get ourselves some beam shots. So here in the low mode, this is the 30 lumen output. As you can see, a nice focused beam all the way out along the fence line, a good amount of throw, and this is going to be a real nice amount of light for general navigation, the ability to get around. Now, a lot of people are going to say they don't like this much light for the low mode, but keep in mind this is a tactical light, so this is going to be perfect if you're carrying this for law enforcement or some sort of tactical purposes. It should be a good amount of light and nice general output. Now you can see it definitely has a defined hotspot with spill off to the side, but generally speaking, even though this did have that sort of dark spot in the original sort of view of this, I'm not seeming to really see it as I beam off into the distance. Single press of the side switch. Now here, this is a 200 lumen output, so as you can see here, good amount of light and a real nice beam. Again, you can definitely see that defined hot spot and then that spill off to the side, really casting some light and lighting things up nicely. Another long press. This is an 800 lumen mode, so now really starting to throw some good light. You can see here casting up and into all the trees, really pretty bright and up into the trees up by the neighbor's house. Now definitely really lighting things up and a good focused amount of light. This is a nice beam casting just absolutely beautifully, doing a wonderful job. So this reflector really doing a great job throwing the light, good and concentrated, but at the same time having some flood so that you can really see the side of your surroundings. Final press here, that's a 1600 lumen full output, just a real serious amount of light, nice and concentrated. And again, this is 90,000 candela, so as I work my way up into the trees, you can see fully illuminating nicely. I could see anything up there and definitely off into the distance, way off into like the surrounding neighborhood, off into the distance. I really don't want to piss people off, and I wish I had a better place to show this off. But if I long press here, you can see that's that 1600 tactical strobe, and then the back switch off. Now just showing this off again, here you can see this is that 30 lumen mode. Again, it has a nice defined hotspot and a little bit of flood off to the side, more than enough light to cast off, and it's not exactly like 180 degrees beside me, but definitely enough to really cast some light to the side so I can see while I'm getting around. Another single press of the side switch, that's that 200 lumen mode, so you can see definitely starting to get a lot brighter. This is going to be very good for a lot of different reasons. I mean, the 30 is good, but the 200 is a nice average mode, actually going to give you some good runtime overall, pretty good battery life on the 200 lumen mode, and more than enough light to do pretty much anything you need. Another press here, that's that 800 lumen mode, really starting to get very bright, that really hot defined hot spot in the middle and a good amount of throw. Getting there to 1600 lumens, lighting everything up and really taking advantage of that 90,000 candela. Long press to that tactical strobe, single press on the tail switch, and off. So all right guys, there you have it, a look at the Cyansky K3. Now, I do have to say, I'm pretty impressed at this. I really wish I had a great place to go for some of those long beam shots. I'm going to continue to use this, experiment with it, and see how it works for me. But so far, I think this is going to be nice. Bottom line is, with very simple programming, some nice steps, all the way from that 30 lumen output, then up to 200, up to 800, and then up to 1600. That's about all I need. I actually really like that. I don't even think the 30 lumens is too bright for my typical needs. In fact, that's what I kind of need while I'm looking under the couch for my keys. Again, I say it all the time. I do a ton of inspections. So having that tighter beam with a nice little bit of flood, that high candela punch, this is fantastic. So for somebody like me, this really works out well. If you're looking for like an everyday carry and you're not going to use some of the sort of like higher punch values, maybe you don't need this, but I do definitely like it. I love the fact that the long press is what gets you into that strobe. I hate when the strobe is in the middle of the programming, so that again works very well for me. The fact that it's got that cool flat black look, I definitely like it, and a seemingly quality 21700 lithium ion battery, fantastic. So great form factor overall. This Cyansky K3, I like it. And so again, I'd like to say thank you very much to the people at Cyansky for providing this for review. I'm hoping this is just the beginning of me looking at their products. I do have a second video coming pretty soon for a headlamp that I can't wait to get my hands on. I just haven't had a good chance to test it, and I do want to get it into the true intended outdoor environment. So far, I think Cyansky is onto something. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. On that channel, it's growing quickly. I have a number of videos up there, and so if you like what you see on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and support me on Outer Limitless 2. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.